Backstage.
We're back. Damien Gendron, Backstage Vancouver. I am thrilled to meet you. I've been looking at your stuff online. You are a multi-talented guy, and I would like to know a little bit about your latest production.
Okay. Well, the project that I've been working on developing is called The Orchard, which is a short film. And just recently got selected for the Bravo Fact Award, which gives us some dough to put towards it, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I'm not going to say too much about it other than it's a sort of a crime thriller.
Right. Your other one, your previous one was too, was it not?
It was, yeah. No, it's a genre that I'm infatuated with, I guess. And Corvus was the film that I did before, and that was also a crime thriller, but in a very sort of noir, neo-noir kind of style to it. Very stylized. This one is not. It's a little more traditional, I guess, in terms of dramas or thrillers, in that characters with scenes talking to each other, all that stuff that we expect in films that Corvus didn't do. Corvus was more like kind of a visual poem, an ode to kind of classic noir, but with using some modern influences in terms of technology and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So what stage is this at now? Or is it out? Are you finished with it? Is it edited and all that?
The Orchard?
Oh, yes.
No. We literally just got funding.
Oh.
So right now all we have is a script,
Okay.
and I'm meeting with the production designer, the cinematographer, and we're just starting to work on the previs part of it, developing the script into the storyboards and the style. I'm very big on the pre-visualization that goes into it. So I like to really
storyboards and things like that.
Yeah, I very meticulously sort of plan everything out.
Right.
And then I feel that I think the argument to that sometimes is that you lose some of your freedom, which I can understand. But at the same time, I feel like the more I know going into it, the more freedom I have, or more importantly, the more freedom I can give to the actors. So things are, you still want to be surprised when you're shooting, but just building up the container that those surprises happen in, if that makes any sense.
Right. Now, in terms of your whole production, I know you wear a lot of hats, which is really impressive because it's not easy, and I'd like to talk a little bit about those challenges after we learn a little bit more about you. So you've got this funding now. Where this is all, you're local here. This will all be done locally, right?
That's right. Yeah, it'll all be done in Vancouver.
Right. Now, have you always been a Vancouverian?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I moved here from Alberta when I was very young, to the South Surrey kind of area, and then I moved out when I was 18. Moved downtown when I was 19, which was a good number of years ago at this point.
Right.
So yes, I've lived in Vancouver for a long time.
What were your first moves towards what you're doing now?
Well, I went to film school. I kind of shifted around. I was just sort of filling needs as they went, as opposed to just going to a university and doing a few years. Well, a big part of it was I had no money, so I had to save up to go to film school.
Right.
In fact, the very first thing I did is I took a screenwriting course at Vancouver Film School, which I remember was about $1,800, and I sold my '81 Honda Civic to pay for it.
Right.
So I had no wheels anymore. I had to take the bus to school, but I was happy to be there. But anyways, yeah, I took a screenwriting course, took a cinematography course at Capilano College, and then I ended up doing a full year intensive program at what was CDIS in Burnaby, which is now Art Institute, I think. And that was a very technical school, and I was technically challenged at the time. I'd never really even spent time on a computer, so I thought I should tackle my greatest challenge as opposed to just, I'd always written ever since I was a kid, so I could just go and I could take writing, further screenwriting courses, but I thought, man, I kind of get that. I got that. I feel good about that. I need to do what I suck at. So that's what I did.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so you did that, and then when did you actually start working, actually going through and finishing a production?
Just shortly after getting out of school, and I started late. I didn't go to school until I was 25 because I had to work to save for the money to go. And nothing is more expensive than film school. It's absolutely ridiculous, the costs involved in that. So then I didn't get out. When I got out, I was 26, and so kind of a late start, I guess. But anyways, I really focused on just making art films. I didn't really, or just like little productions with friends and stuff. I didn't really make any immediate moves to get in the industry because I very much wanted to make films, so I wasn't quite ready to collect garbage on set full time. So I made a few, I guess, kind of just art pieces, just kind of exploring the craft, and then but then I was just so broke that I did start doing production assistant work, which was great. Actually, so I did that for years, just working on set, and then making my things on the side, and just staying as close to the set, trying to stay out of the parking lot, and as close to the set as I could, so I could watch the directors getting flown in and out of LA and New York and all over the world, and the DPs, and
so this was a labor of love. I mean, this was a passion.
Yeah, and I treated all that as study time. I never felt like I was going to work as a production assistant. I felt like I was going to study. And I really treated it like that. I'd get home and I'd take notes if I saw anything interesting, or and then from there I got offered my first sort of shooting something behind the scenes, and then sort of a low budget commercial sort of that developed, and then into the relationship I have now with Circle Productions, who currently represents me as a commercial director. And that's
where we're at right now. This is the building we're in, right?
That's right, yeah. And so I have 2 offices here at Circle in Vancouver, and so that's how I make my living now, is directing commercials.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I see you got a bit of a editing suite behind you there, I think that is?
Yeah, I've got 2. This is the secondary one. This is more of an After Effects color suite, so any effects or the coloring treatment on any projects gets done in here. I don't I do editing on stuff that I direct. I'll cut it as well, and then sometimes I'll get someone in here to help me with this side of it.
Right. So that what I'm seeing there on the desk, that's like mapped all those buttons are all mapped to the software. It knows
Yeah,
to talk to each other.
This is specific to color. So this board is a DaVinci Resolve board, which is a coloring program essentially.
Right.
And then it's also got Final Cut for editing and After Effects.
Right.
For any green screen work and motion graphics and that sort of thing.
So let's get a little more technical. Now, give me some of the challenges when you're looking at a project and you've got limited budget. How do you is that kind of how you decide how many hats you're going to have to wear initially?
No. I mean, it definitely started that way, but I think that now I'm just accustomed to working in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking a bit about it before we started rolling, but the first couple of things I did, I did it all myself, just literally one person. So I lit it, I shot it, I directed it. I guess if there was any producing going on, I was doing that as well, and then I'd edit it as well. So it just became how I worked, and actually it was a really hard thing for me to unlearn to do some of that, because when you get into doing more professional jobs like the commercials that I work on now, or just working with professionals, which like on Corvus, and I will be on the Orchard, you realize people are better than you, and I think that is absolutely key to anyone's growth as a filmmaker, no matter what role you're in.
Right.
Is realizing that other people do things better than you, and you should really do your best to work with those people. But at the time that it was necessary, I didn't know anybody. I simply just didn't know anybody, so I did do it all myself. And I've given up shooting. I rarely, if ever, shoot anymore, because I've met so many talented DPs and cinematographers that, again, are just know the craft better. And but I still write, I direct, and I edit. And I've worked with other editors, but largely I continue to edit my own stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I mentioned earlier about you might get somebody a colorist or something to come in to polish it off.
Really I'm an editor in terms of, well, the true definition of an editor, which is someone, who pieces the story together.
Right.
Finds the pacing. I mean, that's one thing I think there's a misunderstanding these days. I make that sound like I've been doing this for 100 years, which I haven't, but I have seen the transition as the technology becomes more affordable and more accessible. And people, especially coming out of school, that, say, I'm an editor, but what they're really saying is, I know Final Cut, or I know Adobe Premiere, or I know Avid, or whatever.
Right.
Knowing the software does not make you an editor. I mean, it's a necessary tool, but editing is a creative craft, just like anything else. It doesn't matter if you do it, you're cutting film with scissors and splicing it together, or you're using the latest software from Adobe. I mean, it's an understanding of pace and storytelling.
Right. It's not just a mechanical process. There's creativity going on here.
That's right. And so I guess my point is that I use Final Cut, and that's basically all I use. I don't color. I don't do motion graphics. I don't do compositing. A lot of people you meet now, they do all those things, which is terrific. But I also sort of wonder if then, are they truly a student of editing?